there's other things that you need to watch too. And actually, this is the part where we talk about something that if somebody cannot see something, maybe they're going to hear it in the future. And there was something big going on during the test that had nothing to do with the different manufacturers, but with the championship, with Dorna, and with, well, a radio system. And your eagle eye, you figured it out first. You could spot it out.
Well, yeah, I had a feeling that something was going on. Okay, let's frame this way. So I tried to get some information from the responsible person of Dorna, but he said it was not the correct time, and also there is another way to ask questions. And then I left this way. But then I happened to be there when they tested when I understood or when I saw that something was going on in Aleix Espargaro's pit box, because we can see walls in the pit boxes in front of the bikes, so they can cover it. But normally they don't put the walls in front of the rider's corner, which happened. And also clearly I saw all the Dorna guys there and working on something. I took some pictures of the wall and of the people because I couldn't do anything else. It was top secret. By the way, I don't quite understand why they wanted to keep this so much like as a secret. But I think 1 hour later, this happened and I took my pictures. Then the story came out on motorsport.com that a radio system test is going on. It was not the first time, by the way. If you remember back in 2020.
Misano 2020.
Yeah, Stefan Bradl and also Alex Rins and maybe a couple of other riders, but these two riders for sure already tested the system. This time it was Aleix Espargaro's round. It was Fabio Quartararo's, and also it was implemented on one of the helmet of Jonas Folger, because here the important thing was to test with riders using different helmets, different brands of helmets, so they can understand it better. But for example, because then we asked the riders about it during the afternoon after the test. And for example, Pecco Bagnaia mentioned to me that they refused. So he was asked also to try it, but he said that it's still too big. And if it's not safe as it is now, so if there is a crash, he didn't feel safe.
Let's start from why we need it. Okay, so
if we need it.
If we need it, let's start why it's brought in. That's why they're trying to get this system working. So the base, the start, the first phase is not to do something that is dual. It's not the rider to the team and the team to the rider. It's race direction to the rider, and that's supposed to be it. It's supposed to be for safety reasons only and not for our amusement or the storytelling of this championship at this moment.
And
because if you look carefully at the wording, that's not what it says, but we'll get there. The situation is like that. There was a problem, and we saw that, especially when we saw the Styria Austrian rounds, of announcement getting to the rider quickly enough. It's because the circuits are wider, because the flags are further away from the riders. They're hard for them to see. So first of all, LED flags were brought in, so it's easier to see. It was implemented in all the tracks that are the FIA and FIM highest level are around the world. So all the riders can see it a lot easier. The next step that was tested, and we could hear that they have the ability to send it to their dashboard. They can get warrants on the dashboard, but now they're trying to take it again to the next step after that test in 2020 failed, to try to give the radio to the riders so the riders can get the alert a lot quicker, especially in blind corners. If there's a red flag, so they get they can slow down a lot quicker and not to get into trouble, because it's hard for them to do everything while the race is so busy. So they were trying to test that system. There were two different systems. One inside the ear and one outside, because the difference from Formula One or from any other car championship is that this system is not in the vehicle or on the vehicle. It's on the rider, actually inside the rider.
Yeah, well, first of all, the thing is that the most important situation where a quick information can be a help, it's when, for example, a rider is in the middle of the track. Just remember back to another Austrian crash or the Red Bull Ring, Lorenzo Savadori and Dani Pedrosa, when he did the white card, blind corner, etc. But I have a doubt here. I mean, these accidents happens when they are packed and then they are really close. So when there is a distance and they are not at the back of the other rider, these accidents can be avoided much easier, okay? Because now then they have the time to see the flags, the message on the dashboard, etc., etc. So if a crash, like for example this one, Savadori Pedrosa, happens, it happens so quickly, there's no time to send a message to the rider. So if the main reason to avoid these kind of accidents so far, but I can be wrong, and I'm open to all the new things, like a couple of riders told to me. So far, I don't think that this is a solution for that. And a lot of riders says that for them, the dashboard is already enough, that hearing something in the ears can be really, really distracting. So it's really important then to find the correct moment to send the message. But hey, if it's about the accident, there's no correct moment. Yeah. The moment is when we have the accident.
Yeah, the thing is that, let's just explain a little bit. The system is supposed to be a recorded messages, so it's the same volume, it's the same tone. It's supposed to be alerting them, not alarming them, so they don't get distracted, or because to hear something in the helmet, that's part of the reason that they are a little bit concerned. Though, if the volume is the same, but they don't have the same number of bikes around them, or their speed is different, their noise is different, so the sound might be a little bit too strong. So there's a lot of problems here, and there's a lot of issues with this system. And at the same time, we are hearing that part of the reason that the system is going to be helpful is that there's going to be a GPS, something that the riders did not have on them until now, so they can see the exact line, the exact thing that the riders are doing, so where they are going and how far they are getting on the track. That's what Carlos Ezpeleta explained. But also they are thinking about the possibility of what will happen in the future, and that's something that I think there was maybe one rider who sounded positive about that. The rest of the riders are not really happy, because all of them are happy to take control for once during the weekend. This is their time to make the decisions. This is their time to shine and to show who they are and what they're capable of.
Honestly, this GPM system that Carlos Ezpeleta mentioned in the press release that came out the day after, so on Tuesday, I didn't quite understand, because I'm pretty sure that all they have, or they had the GPS already on the bikes because of the telemetry data and stuff like that.
But they don't see they don't see the exact location on the track, the line, and how far they get when they crash. They want to try to analyze that with the telemetry. it's a little bit different, maybe. So that's what he said. So we just have to take it as it is, because that's what
I
he
didn't
said.
have the time to double check. I will, because I really have something in the back of my mind that something with GPS already happened, and then I think it was banned or not used or whatever.
It was not, from what I know, they don't have a GPS on them because that's not allowed. So that's
Yeah. This is
and the thing is also, with all these messages, we have to remember there's a huge difference between Formula One and MotoGP. Formula One, the teams, they know exactly what's going on with the car when the cars are on the track. When the bikes are on the track, the teams do not know what's going on the bikes. The riders know, and the riders know what they're supposed to do if something is happening to the bike. They don't, the teams, the people who are sitting in the box, they have no control at that time. They can put a sign, but that's enough. And that's not, for example, we had an issue with Mark during the test that we found out that Mark never has pit board during tests because he's the one controlling, because he's the only one who knows what's going on and what he wants to do. So that's how it works. So it's a little bit problematic in that sense. But you kept talking to the rider afterwards, and you kept asking them what they were thinking. And one of the riders that you spoke to was Fabio Quartararo, who tried one of the methods. Which one did he try?
It was the on ear, so not the in ear, but it's what is around your ear. And then he explained that there was also a band, which was there to keep the device on the place, and then there was something else, and then he could take on the helmet. So clearly it was not the most comfortable, but it's still a test phase. Okay,
so let's just hear you and Fabio.
how was the radio communication system you tested? Could you hear everything? Did you test different points at the racetrack? How was the noise?
Actually, it was non-stop. It was 3 laps of having red flag. So was good, and I think if they are able to use it in a good way, can be good, can be safe. But I think we don't need to have a lot of people talking on this. Must be really an emergency, because of course it was difficult, because when you are riding and you hear something, is the first lap I was a little bit strange, because you are a little bit you are turning and you hear red flag is strange. But of course, if for the safety we can use it, and yeah, especially for red flag or bike in the middle of the track, I think it can be helpful.
So would it be better? Just the dashboard, because Joan said that we are already.
Yeah. So afterwards, he also mentioned that he actually doesn't have the time to look at the dashboard. He doesn't. So in a way, he's lucky he was able to see that he has a penalty the last race. But
yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, and of course, with everything, of course, the riders have different opinion about this radio system. So though in the press release, I think somewhere it was, I wanted to read it, but now I cannot find the part. It was said that all the riders are really happy with the ID and with this thing. Sorry, but at least according to their answers, okay, Monday evening after the test, it's not what it is. I already mentioned Pecco, who is not against the ID, but so far he refused already to test it. Joan Zarco said that no need for it. We have the dashboard, and he says so if you are comfortable with the bike and everything is okay, you have the time to watch the dashboard, and we have plenty of information on that, so that's enough. We really don't need something speaking into our heads or ears. And Luca Marini said the really same thing. And before I say what Luca Marini said, you also mentioned Tammy, because we really read this press release from Dorna, because there Carlos is saying that for a moment or for the time being, it's for race direction, sending pre-recorded messages. And I think at least 2 times it's there for time being, which for me and for you, Tammy, as well, I have a feeling that then there will be another step, and another step will be that the teams will be allowed to speak to the riders, and maybe the step after can be that the riders can reply, if they can reply. And why did I say if? Because Luca Marini said this: listen, we don't have time to breathe. We don't have time to have some rest on the bike. No way that we can talk. So this part for Luca is completely a huge no. And then I said, yeah, wait, Luca, but it's still, we're just talking about, you know, the race direction, sending messages. And he kept saying, okay, I'm open to try it, but for me, this is not the way where we have to concentrate and where we have to go. Same as Johan Zarco. Johan Zarco said, let's move on and continue to develop this dash solution. And Luca Marini said the really same thing. So he said, we are riders. We don't need anyone to talk into our ears while we are doing everything. And then what I mentioned already, the timing. And also with these pre-recorded messages, but I'm sure they worked it out already. It must be really, really accurate and punctual. So when they send out the message and when the riders receive the message must be the exact same time, basically.
But at the same time, you probably also saw it in a press release that it says on the straight. So it is again a problem, because when do you send that and how do you make sure? Because also these messages, they need to make sure that they come out in a way that the riders don't get alerted, alarmed. Alerted, it's different. Alarmed is getting maybe overwhelmed with the noise or in their helmet or anything like that. And again, maybe relying on it, because, you know, psychology shows that since we have waves and we lost something in our abilities to see ourselves in the space. But also what it does say in the press release, that as long as the teams agree, there needs to be some agreement. I'm not sure what percentage of agreement there needs to be and what it means when they say teams. So we need to wait and see and how it grows. But to me, it feels like this is being pushed forward quite, I won't say aggressively, but
don't get me wrong, the job that Dorna is doing here is huge. So as I mentioned, I saw the guys and I also caught the moment, not with my camera, just with my eyes, when they congratulated to each other because they closed a successful day. They had a success. So what they could see on Monday, Jerez, that was a huge success for them. And they were super, super happy. So this is something, looks like it's something really important for Dorna. And I hope when they say it will happen only if the teams agree, it won't be something like the sprint races, because that was a bit, you know. So yeah, so let's wait and see. I don't want to go in there. Just let's wait and see. If it's safe, if it really helps to avoid.
If it's for safety, I'm for it. If the riders agree for it, I'm for it. If it's really going to work for them, I'm for it, because there's a lot of things that they need to take care technically to make sure that it's safe and doesn't bring more problems into the
or risk.
Yeah, risk for the riders again if they get alarmed, or then and stop all of the riders behind them.
And I had also one other thing I had in my mind, that if it happens, and it's really possible that it will happen, I'm not sure, I don't think next year 25 or stuff like that, I was wondering then they should start to use it then for the Moto2 and the Moto3 riders, kind of educate them. Because I was wondering, and that once a driver arrives to Formula One, and there's a lot of things they have to handle and take control and stuff like that. Not, I wanted to say like the MotoGP riders, clearly there's a much more in Formula One. But the jump from Moto2 to MotoGP, with all the electronics, with all the buttons, with all the ride height device and everything, I was wondering that from 0 to 100, let's say, which is now plus a radio communication, I think that will be too much and a too big step. So if they want to do it, I'm sure they will start it in MotoGP, but then they have to start to educate the riders and let the riders get used to it already with the bikes, with less things to control.
Yeah. Yeah, and actually we saw some of the scariest accidents with Moto2. It was in what they were referring to with the blind corners and everything. So that's an interesting. I do hope that it will not be evolving into the extra thing that they're thinking about. We have enough show on our hands. I don't need the politics, and I need the riders to keep doing their job, because that's what we need them to do, and we need them to enjoy themselves, and we need them to be in control and not to let other people take decisions for them while they're on the track and doing their thing. That most of the people can't do.
This is the long future. The close future clearly is Le Mans and the French GP, which will be really special. So in our next episode, we will talk about.
Yeah, we'll have something special before the 1000th weekend, because it's a big race and it's a big weekend, Le Mans, and we do want to do something special. So
we continue. Yep. Bye.